alive! It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
Hello and welcome to Alive After Reading. I'm your host, Tim Niederreiter, and with me today is a new guest to the podcast, Takiyah Smith. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
Well, it's great to have you. Tell the listeners a little bit about yourself and the sort of stuff you write.
Okay. So I am born and raised in San Francisco. I grew up here and I went to a fashion college, actually, the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising, with thoughts and hopes of becoming a famed designer. But then I decided I didn't want to do that. But at my core, though, creativity is, always kind of been my thing, just in general. And so I got the idea to write a book. And actually, the title of my first book is Single Mom in the City. And the subtitle is How to Create Time, Money, and a Rich Life. And so the name of the book actually came to me, or the name just in general came to me. And then I didn't know what I was going to do with it. It was like, well, maybe I should do a podcast, a YouTube channel, but none of those things, or even like a website, but none of those things kind of like spoke to me. It's like, I don't want to really keep that up. So probably I pretty much, put just left the name in my notebook of ideas. And then like probably 2-3 years later, then I was like, aha, I should write a book. And so I did. And I just, pretty much just kind of researched how to get started online. And so that was my first book. About 2 years ago, I published during the pandemic. The pandemic actually became a blessing for my book. So gave me time, a lot more time.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, I've been writing mostly I write fiction, and fantasy and science fiction, but I've been writing pretty much continuously for my whole life. And so when the pandemic rolled around, not much changed for me, but I could see it helping a lot of people have more free time. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And I've like, even when I was, younger in my teens and whatnot, I did always enjoy writing. I guess probably poetry was kind of one of the first things that I, had a passion for. But honestly, I like writing because English to me was the easiest class. Like you don't really have tests. You can go home and take all the time you need with your writing and even get feedback from the teacher before you turn it in. So for me, it was I liked it, but it was also an easy way to get an A. So
yeah. No, I mean, I thought because I studied English literature in college, and I thought, I just mostly picked it because I knew I was good at it already. I'd already written a few novels in high school, and I was good at English literature in high school. So I was like, oh yeah, sure, I can. I like books, I'll tackle it. But then it was a little tough because I'm not a classic literature kind of fan, though I do enjoy poetry and some of that stuff. I'm glad I went. I mean, there's a lot of stuff I'm glad at that I learned from the degree, but it was. I was going to say there are tests at the college level, and they're mostly handwritten papers, which is a real pain in my butt. Well, in my fingers mostly. But yeah. Anyway, like, you have to write a 2-page essay with a pencil. Oh God, I hadn't done that maybe ever before.
Right.
Because I'm of a generation that grew up with computers. I'm not sure about everybody, but I had a computer basically to help me at every level of education. So
right, it's very convenient. Those computers, they help us edit. They are faster than the whole writing thing with your hand.
I mean, I could type. So I can still type so much faster than I can write by hand. It's insane.
Definitely.
And there's a little bit of joy in writing by hand. I don't know why I'm going off on this tangent.
I agree. I agree.
I've only written the most substantial amount of fiction I've ever written by hand was in the 3 weeks I was visiting northern India in college, because I didn't bring a computer with me. That's the longest I've been without a computer in my adult life.
Okay, so you were forced to
Yeah,
then
I'm not bringing
write
my
by
laptop.
pen.
It's too ungainly. It's too expensive.
Yeah.
We can't risk losing it, you know?
Yeah,
So,
that's true.
and it's a relatively short trip, so I'll just take a notebook. That was incredibly weird. But it was an interesting experience, let me put it that way, as a writer, to not be like, oh, and I'm not sure if I ever even transcribed the stuff I wrote in that notebook. It was just but it was actually, I got to like it, let me put it that way. When I was there. Anyway. So your book is nonfiction, though, right?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Nonfiction.
What? Other than the title, what kind of spooled out and brought that book to be?
So initially, I think what I thought the book would be was kind of like an all-encompassing guidebook on motherhood, on everything about motherhood. But then it was like, as I got to kind of like, I kind of charted out like what well, first I did a mind map to kind of just write down any and every idea that I had about like what I maybe wanted to put in the book. And so from there, then I got a poster board, and then I kind of categorized all of the things that I put down on a piece of paper to see, like, just to be able to see like what the chapters would be. And then I was like, this is like way too much. This book could be infinite, right? Motherhood, parenthood it's a lot, and it's very involved. And that would have been like a really gigantic book. So then I'm like, why don't I just do a series just through time, and then I can start the first book with the most important things of motherhood, like the foundation, which is in the subtitle, which is creating time, money, and a rich life. Time and money are two of the top three things that single mothers are faced with. And really, I didn't do this. I researched that, but I would probably argue that it's probably moms in general, really. Especially, or parents in general, especially depending on where you live. Like, I'm in the San Francisco area, and it's really expensive. So, everybody's always challenged with getting more time, throw kids in the mix and, forget about it. So that was kind of my, the foundation of what I wanted to create with those three things in mind. And all the most important things I addressed in terms of like creating more time, creating more money, and creating a rich and fulfilled, like kind of well-rounded life for yourself, but also for the child or children that are watching you. Because so many times, like, mothers put themselves last on the list of everything and put everybody else before them, and they think they're doing a service to their kids, but in reality you're not really, because they're watching you. And then what's going to happen when they become parents? They're going to put themselves last on the list too. And I didn't want that for myself, and I also didn't want that for my daughter. When you're on the plane, they tell you, like, when they're taking off, like, put your mask on first before you help other people. And it's kind of the same with parenting. You have to take care of yourself in order to be able to take care of other people most effectively, we'll say.
No, that makes sense. I'm not a parent, but that makes so much sense to me. I can't imagine being in, like, for example, like, that's one of the reasons I'm probably not going to be a parent anytime soon. Like, I don't think I have my stuff together. I'm not in that position to be ready for anything like that. A relationship that would involve that kind of responsibility.
It's a huge thing. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But also, though it obviously is more difficult. I think it's more difficult than for the woman involved in that equation, obviously, for a lot of reasons. But that's just my personal opinion. What am I saying? That's me talking on my butt. Let's just leave it at that. I don't know anything about parenting, except that I've been parented.
Right, I was going to say, you have some, right?
I only know it from the perspective of the kid.
Right.
And,
yeah.
Anyway, so You were saying though?
No, I was gonna say no, totally. Like I honestly, before I became a parent, like, some kids, some girls grow up thinking about, oh, these are my kids. These are gonna be my kid's name. This is gonna be what I'm like. Believe me, I did not have a thought about kids. Like not even a thought of a name when I was growing up. So I didn't really know what kind of parent I was gonna be until I had my daughter. Then it was like, wow, I'm in charge of someone's life. I better not screw this up, kind of thing. And
Yeah.
so, I just pretty much just like researched, from some of the books that were out there, like whether like psychology books, about the brain and about kids and how their brains, are wired, things that could, help with their development and things that could potentially hinder it. I was able to like talk to like parents, and this was just like through casual conversation or whatever. This was even long before I wrote the book, but I talked to many great parents who like just talked about some of their parenting styles and things, and like, oh, that's good. Like I'm going to incorporate like those things. And of course, the parents that maybe not doing ideal things, and it's like, okay, I'm not going to do those things over there. So, and with all of that information, with the title that came to me, it was like, I have a lot of information that will really, and quite frankly, single mom, the title is just, I'm a single mom. So it's from like me in that perspective. And let me just say, I love Sex in the City. And so I'm like, see, that's like this is a perfect opportunity for me to kind of put it in the title. But I have to say with this first book, I would say 90% is not single mom specific, maybe 85 to 90. It's just person specific, honestly, and not even really male or female specific. But, obviously, since I'm, writing, my target market for this book are women, I'm not, wasn't trying to be all things to all people with the book, but it's really just like stuff that we all could use to be successful in life and therefore in parenting. I mean, for example, and just a book that I would have loved to have at the very start of my motherhood journey. I write about like meditation, the 80-20 rule, in terms of parenting. Have you heard of the 80-20 rule?
Oh yeah, but how does that apply to parenting? That's the 80% of, well, just for the listeners in case you haven't heard of it, that 80-20 rule is 80%, 80% of the results come from about 20% of the activity, right?
Yes.
That's the general gist of it.
Yes, exactly. And so how it applies to parenting is that 80% of our interaction with children should be good and positive. Like, oh, that, you did a great job cleaning up your toys. Thank you for, I'm so happy that you ate all your food. Like, you're such a great eater. Or cute names, nicknames, or pet names versus pet names. Okay, take that part out.
Sure.
I'm like, pet names. I think, wrong person. So
yeah.
versus oh, you did this in school. I got to call, or you got to, you didn't do well on this assignment, or you didn't make your bed, or go make up your bed, pick up those socks, so the loving things need to outweigh those like criticizing or critical things. Otherwise, the child can start to feel unloved and unwanted. If you're always, like, do this, do that, you didn't do this. Like, if you think about it on the flip, if you're doing that, 80% of that, and only 20% of kind of the loving stuff, then, like I said, the kid can start to feel unloved. So 80% of your interaction with with your child should be loving, and only 20% should be instructive, like do this, do that, or, that kind of, so yeah.
That's really interesting. I would not have assumed that that was a ratio that would necessarily apply to parenting. But that, I mean, I'm not saying, obviously, like I said, I don't know anything about parenting, so that's that's it. But that just is like, oh, that makes so much sense because. But I love my parents. I think I had a pretty good childhood, but I was such a weird kid. I mean, my twin brother and I were both like this, though. We were both like, you couldn't compliment one of us without the other one getting upset. It was like that.
Of course.
And we also had another brother.
That's normal.
We have another brother who's only 2 years older than us, so we were always in the same boat. And then our
that's
mom
so funny.
couldn't. She decided to stop complimenting us at least when the others were around. Because it just made
that's
two
so
of the other
funny.
ones upset usually, or at least
Right.
me upset at least. And
Did you grow out of that at a certain point?
Oh, we definitely
or was
did. We definitely grew out of it.
Okay.
But it was like this. We were very small. This was like before.
Oh,
school.
yeah. Then that's.
But I think that that had some impact on just general growing up. Because that's some of my earliest memories are sitting at the kitchen table and thinking like, wait a minute. You mean you don't like my stuff?
Right.
Or when I had to insist that the dinosaurs from the Land Before Time were dead because but as if it's historical or something. Anyway, that's a long story. Anyway, those movies, the dinosaur movies, like
no, I remember the Land Before. I remember the Land Before Time.
And then at one point, I'm like, yeah, but you do know those dinosaurs, they wouldn't be alive anymore because they're animated dinosaurs. They were never alive. Is the actual answer? But never mind. They're fictional characters. Be quiet, Tim. Anyway, so Takiyah. Sorry about the digression. That was a little silly.
Yeah, no worries.
But your book sounds really interesting. I think, especially with the focus on kind of on the figure of the parent, single mother, and as opposed to being like, this is how you parent. It's more like this is how you take care of yourself as a parent, which is really, that's just intriguing to me. And I must confess, even though I don't have any kids, and I'm not sure if I will ever have any kids, it makes me actually very interested to see what the book's about, and I kind of want to read it now.
Yeah, well, I hope you do. Honestly, I mean, I've had like, I guess in terms of the male people that I know that read it, they have been, friends, I'll just say, but some of those friends, like very critical friends, and they did enjoy the book. And like I said, like, in terms of what's woman focused, it really would be like, or not that woman focused. It could go for either gender, because I'm actually gonna turn it into a dad in the city and just turn all the he's to she's, and I'll change up. Like I said, there's maybe like 5 to 10% that might be women specific, but a lot of the information is just like how to be the best you. Like I have a chapter on how to ask for what you want and get it. Although men might, they definitely have a leg up on women in this, and that men definitely ask for what they want way more than women do. But I think that even still with that, there are, parts of that chapter in how you ask that men could gain from it. But one of my favorite chapters is the pleasing personality, which certainly benefits all, right? That chapter came from, one of my favorite authors, Napoleon Hill, which you may have heard of, who wrote the book Think and Grow Rich. Yeah. So pleasing personality, which just talks about, which is, that's ultimately, our most powerful asset. It doesn't cost anything, and it can either attract people or it can repel people. And, this is not something that I really realized like early on, that, that how you interact with people and how you are really has like a huge impact. And it can certainly help you a lot in life when people like you versus when they don't, right?
Oh, that's such a good point. That resonates very strongly with my experience of growing up, because I mean growing up into my 30s now, but like because when I started out as a kid, when I was like first starting to learn to interact with other people, I mean I'm autistic, right? I'm on I was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome when I was 12, and I was such an angry kid. before that. I was so angry all the time, it felt like. And there were a bunch of reasons why, but foremost among it was I felt like I couldn't understand anyone, and it was just a crapshoot to get any reaction from somebody. So say I want someone to like me, well, this is in hindsight, right? But say if I want somebody to like me, which it honestly probably wouldn't have occurred to me as a child that I needed, that it would be helpful for other people to like me. But if I'm like, well, I don't know how to make that happen, will be the problem then. And that's what became the problem basically in like when I was a teenager and so on. But and learning that has been the story of me growing up. So anyway, that's just, it's why it's very strong as a concept to me that I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds fascinating. I would like to see what you wrote about that. Yeah, definitely. Anyway.
Yeah. I would have to say it's one of my favorite chapters, and it's something that I teach my daughter. I mean, honestly, I didn't, just like you, I'm sure many teens didn't realize that. I didn't realize it. But as I got older and as I read Napoleon Hill's book, and when he talked about the pleasing personality, it was like, it really makes sense. When you think about that person that walks in the room and that everybody gravitates, it's like the social butterfly that everybody genuinely likes. Like, I didn't realize what that was. It's the pleasing personality. It's exactly what it is. And so, once I realized that, it's like, and everybody isn't like that. Just throughout my life, like, you just notice those people, they just kind of stand out, and people just like them. And they probably have like most, if not all, of those elements of the pleasing personality. And then on the flip side, when there's someone that you don't really like that much, or they annoy you for whatever reason, because I had that, and then when I've had that with people, and I'm like, why don't I like, why does that person annoy me or whatever? And then as I looked through as I was writing the book, and I'm like looking through the list, and I'm like, oh, that person has these repelling traits. That's why, they got on my nerves or whatever. So it helps you recognize when people have some of those annoying traits too, and how not to have those annoying traits yourself. So,
yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's this element of, well, I mean, if I put it in terms of the fiction, the fiction of creating fiction, that you want the characters to be sympathetic, and that's different from the things people are going to like about them in real life, right? Because when I read a Joe Abercrombie book, and the characters are just nasty people in large part of they're doing awful things a lot of the time. He's a lot like George R. R. Martin, Game of Thrones type books. Oh, okay. So they're kind of in the same genre. So they're very like dark fantasy. Okay. But I mean, I love those characters for what they do, because they're just so genuine. But then if I would never want to meet those people in real life, they're just nasty. I mean, I tend to get killed a lot. That's how these books go. But so generally, they're not good to know, but they're interesting. And obviously, the qualities people are looking for in real life are going to be different. That's what I'm trying to get at. And in fact, because we all want to live pleasant, maybe less exciting lives than constantly being in life and death peril, right? I mean,
definitely.
It makes sense that we're just gonna look for people who make life easier, not harder. Let's say.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, and that's who I think most people want to be around, is people that are upbeat, positive, that, kind of light up the room versus like doom and gloom. I mean, unless if you're a doom and gloom type of person, then you'll probably prefer to be around people that are similar to that. Most likely. Yeah, so. Maybe.
I do think, I think you're probably correct, but even then, I think that might be a situation that maybe I guess, having been a doom and gloom person at one point, I gotta say, it was probably helpful for me to evolve away from that. And I'm not saying that.
Oh, for sure.
I don't want to be prescriptive, because it would drive me crazy if somebody was prescriptive to me back then. And I was like, maybe you should try to cheer up a little bit and make some friends who are not always down on themselves. Well, that's not helpful either necessarily if they're in that position. So
true.
It's like you said before. If you're trying to teach somebody something, if you want somebody to learn something, or you want to have a good relationship with someone, I mean, whether it's a child or not, more time spent on getting along, 80% of the time on getting along, 20% on trying to fix problems or teach things. It seems like generally a very good rule, actually. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I agree. And, they say that you bring a good point that someone maybe who's, maybe more on the potentially like pessimistic side, they might want to be around those that, especially if they're trying to be a little bit different, they might want to be around someone, or people who are perhaps more optimistic. I think ultimately, and this is, I put this in my book, but I don't remember. I think several people have said this though. I think Warren Buffett being one, and it's like where the sum total or income or just in general, where the sum total of the 5 most people that we hang out with. I'm sure you probably heard that.
Yeah, I've heard that one. I don't know who said that, but I've definitely heard it.
Yeah.
Around.
Yeah, I'm not sure who. I think I might have wrote a few people in there because several people have said it. I don't know who said it first, but and that's in terms of income. That's in terms of just like where you're at in life, like, and perhaps like mentally or whatnot. And so,
attitude.
I think exactly. So I think if someone is maybe striving for more or wants to be in a different place, then they'll seek out those people maybe with the similar qualities that they aspire to, the direction that they aspire to go to. And I kind of talk about that a little bit also. Interesting.
So it sounds like the book's got a lot of interesting stuff in it, a lot of interesting lessons, material to go through. And so, remind us again where people can find the book. I guess I forgot to ask if it was out already. Is it out yet?
Oh yes, it is out.
Just making sure.
It can, yeah, for sure. It can be found on BarnesandNoble.com. They may have it in some of their stores. It can always be ordered. It's on Amazon, of course, also. And for those people that want to support their local bookstore, if they don't have it, they definitely can order it. So,
well, great. Takiyah Smith, it's been awesome talking to you. Now I'm understanding how your name sounds a lot like how I say the word talking. Anyway,
yeah, so nice talking to you too.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much. It's been great having you on. Sorry for interrupting you at the end here, but yeah, as for this podcast, you can find us at mentalcellarpublications.com. You can find my books on Amazon.com pretty much exclusively, except you can get the print versions. You can get print editions on Barnes & Noble as well. Actually, anywhere fine print-on-demand books are distributed. And, so thanks for listening, everybody. I'll talk to you again next week. And, stay safe and have a good one. Bye-bye.
That tears it.